What we have here is a human design chart. Let's start from the basics. What is a human design chart? A human design chart can be explained as multiple things, so let's take three examples. So, a human design chart is you from the time you're born until the time you leave this earth. A human design chart is um, your energetic blueprints so that you can make proper decisions for you and your energy, not based on what society expects from you. So, if you're making correct decisions for you, then obviously you're making correct decisions for yourself. And you're like, well, duh. Of course, if I'm making correct decisions, you're making correct decisions for yourself. Obvious. But if you're making correct decisions for yourself, then that means that your purpose is automatically flowing through you without getting your brain involved. What? So, what is human design? Human design is understanding how you say your yes and no for you, not based on what society expects from you, but your yes and no, and how you can rely on saying your yes and no for you. Another way that we can explain human design is that we're born into a society, a culture, a race, a gender. Let's just use the gender one. You're a boy, so you like blue. You're a girl, so you like pink. It's just those generic conditioning factors that go with culture, society, religion, gender, etc. And people are expected to fulfill these conditions. So we're born, and then we go to school, and our tiny little busy bodies are expected to sit down and learn. So we change ourselves so that we can accommodate what our authoritative figures expect from us. And then, we grow up, and then we move out of our house, and we expect that we have complete freedom. But do we? No, I mean, we have to abide by the laws of life, or the TOS of life. So we have to change ourselves a little bit to adhere to those. Some people really like to drive fast, so, they have to adhere to drive the speed limit. Um, or maybe our bosses expect us to be a certain way, so we have to change ourselves. Our customers expect us to be a certain way, so we change ourselves. We all say we have that customer service voice, right? Um, or there could be different reasons why we decide to change ourselves. There's trauma in our life, and we have these coping mechanisms just to make it through the day. Or maybe that person over there is doing something super successful, and we decide that we want to change ourselves to be like that person over there, so maybe we can grab some of their success. Or maybe you were acting like your true self, and you humiliated yourself, and you vowed to yourself that you'd never do that thing again because it humiliated you, even though it was you at your core. So these are just different ways we can look at human design. Is it reminding us of who we are? It can be our energetic blueprints. But at the end of the day, the way I like to explain it is that it is how you say your yes and no. And that leads to your purpose flowing through you without getting your brain involved. So I'm going to start using my mouse a little bit, and we're going to start incorporating some jargon. Now, what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be incorporating two different sets of information. Part one, stuff you need to know. Part two, everything else, brain candy. So if part one is what you need to ingest right now, and you need to turn off the rest of it and listen to it later, cool. But part one is the most important information that you need to know. Part two is just going to be brain candy, fun stuff. Um, One of the things that I need you to know is that I'm not doing a professional foundational reading. When I got a foundational reading, I didn't even understand what the person was saying. So I'm actually bringing it back even a step further and explaining what your yes and no is. So this is not a foundational reading, this is an overview. And we're giving you some juicy things here and there that would be interesting to know as a person receiving this. What else do I need to say? You don't need to write down notes. This is currently being recorded. It will be edited, put onto YouTube so that you can have access to this for FZs. So you can just sit back and ingest, and if you want to make notes later, you're more than welcome to. So this is just an experience for you to have live and for you to ingest, and not necessarily to sit down and write notes at this particular moment. All right. Part one, let's get some jargon started. We told you that we can understand how you say your yes and no out of this chart. So let's go into the jargon of what a yes and no is. What is a choice mechanism? What is your yes and no? Strategy and authority. That is your yes and no. Jargon, yeah. Are you supposed to understand what strategy and authority definition wise means? No. But I'm telling you that strategy and authority is the means to understand how you say your yes and no. So it doesn't matter if we're talking to you, Sarah, or if we're talking to anybody else watching. The means for you to be able to say your yes and no lies here in your strategy and authority, this two-part mechanism, always. Your yes and no, your choice mechanism, strategy and authority. So when we say you're following your choice mechanism, we say you're following your strategy and authority. So I know I'm probably going to be interchanging these words, following your choice mechanism, following your yes and no, or following your strategy and authority, but they all mean the same thing, following your yes and no. So there's some jargon there for you. Um, we said that earlier. If you followed your yes and no, like let's just say your body said uh-huh and you decided to follow that uh-huh, that means that you are allowing your purpose to flow through you. Let's just say that you your body said uh-huh and you're like, actually I'm too afraid, I can't do it, I'm not going to do it, when your body actually told you to do it. Well, instead of allowing your purpose to flow through you, you could see the opposite of frustration. So I know we're already jumping into that too quickly. So if you follow your yes and no, you are allowing your purpose to flow through you. This is your purpose right on screen. And it doesn't matter if we're talking to Sarah, if we're talking to anybody else, your incarnation cross is your purpose in life. So if you want to Google that, we're not going to be talking about it today in our analysis, but if anybody ever wants to Google that, you need to make sure that you add the full sentence. There's three different words that can exist here: right angle, left angle, or juxtaposition. You also need to include the numbers at the end if you want to Google this, just if you want some brain candy. We're not talking about it today because it's its own full reading. But I told you that if you follow your strategy and your authority, if you follow your yes and no, your purpose is going to automatically flow through you. Let me tell you, as an analyst, I Googled it once and it really didn't make sense to me. But I never wanted to understand it again because I wanted to experiment with my yes and no. Just say yes and no when, or just do the yes and no when it comes to be, instead of getting the brain candy involved. Because maybe if I got the brain candy involved, I would have been like, oh, well, my brain candy says, or my purpose says this, so my brain candy is going to act on it this way. No. I like following my strategy and authority, uh-huh and uh-uh. It'll automatically allow your purpose to be true. It just flows through you without getting your brain involved at all. Okay, I'm just talking way too much at this point. We haven't even got into any of like the actual information that you need to know. We were just flopping around and talking about some different information. So let's get into it. Almost, actually. We know that over in the astrology community that we hear titles such as Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Capricorn, etc. Now, for a person like myself who understands zero about astrology, those titles barely mean anything to me. I know that they're attached to astrology and I know they represent a month, but that's it. I don't know what it means, but to a person who's trained in astrology, those words mean something really deep and it has a lot of information to it, etc. So over here in the human design community, we have titles too. And you are a manifesting generator. That is your type. So if we're going to cross compare, instead of calling you a Gemini, you are a manifesting generator over here in the human design community. I'm a generator. You're a manifesting generator. So to the untrained mind, those words aren't supposed to mean anything. You're just, that's you. You're just supposed to hear it. That's what it's meant to be. That's what's meant to be that is what is meant to be done at this particular moment. You're just supposed to hear that you're a manifesting generator. That's it. You're not supposed to understand what it means because there's a lot of different things that it does mean, but you're just supposed to hear it. So we're just going to move on from that. So if anybody ever asks you, what are you in a human design? I'm a manifesting generator. That's what I am. Let us start how to say your yes and no. How does Sarah say their yes and no? Well, we've been talking about how strategy and authority is the means on how anybody says their yes and no. So Sarah is here. I'm actually just going to poke this up a little because I might accidentally reveal some information. So strategy and authority is how you say your yes and no. So what does it mean to respond, and what is the sacral? Well, your sacral's right here. This red square. That's your sacral, and that's where your response comes from. And you got this juicy life force energy. Let's talk about what a response is. A response can be understood in two different ways. And I'm going to explain both of those ways. It's going to take a moment to run through this because obviously this is the most important part of understanding human design. So I am going to make sure that you understand this. What is a response? Well, a response sounds like a caveman or a baby. Those guttural sounds like uh-huh and uh-uh. And like when a baby likes something, they say ooh or ah. When they don't like something, they're like eh, and they push it away. So those are the type of sounds that you are gifted with as understanding your yes and no. You can say those gut responses because yeah, it's right there in the sacral. Uh-huh and uh-uh. And what if your energy doesn't know the answer to it? Well, I can tell you that it sounds like something like or you just don't know and you're like, oh. What's interesting is that these beautiful people who are gifted these responses of uh-huh and uh-uh, these guttural caveman sounds, they're actually deconditioned away from us. Because I know my parents slapped me on the hand and said, say your yes, say your no. You can't even say yeah or nah. It's incorrect for society. So a lot of us are deconditioned away from our proper sounds that make us understand what is correct for us. So what is the response for you? Uh-huh, uh-uh, or I don't. That is what a response sounds like. Now, what can you respond to? This is going to be where we talk about it the most because what is a response? A response is not, I'm going to say, is not you asking yourself a question in your head and seeing if that's an uh-huh or uh-uh to yourself. Like, Katie, do you want to go to the store today? That's not a thing that I can respond to. That's like an internal brain function asking my energy. It doesn't work that way. No, 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 no. I'm not asking myself questions. There are a multitude of things that I can respond to, though. Let me tell you about it. A response is usually external. So a person can literally ask you, do you want to go to the store? And you're like, uh-uh. And I suggest that you don't go because you don't have the life force energy at that particular moment to go. Maybe on the way out, they ask you, are you sure you don't want to go? And now it's like, uh-huh, actually, I do want to go. So maybe just because you said uh-uh in that moment, it doesn't mean that it's always going to be an uh-uh. And just because you said uh-huh in that moment, it doesn't always mean that it's always going to be an uh-huh. So when a person asks you a question, that is something directly that you can respond to. Maybe you don't know the answer to that question. And, do you want to come to the store? How about you ask me in like 5 minutes? You hear that, you can say, how about you ask me in like 5 minutes? And they'll be like, I don't even understand. Why do you need 5 minutes? right? But it's just your energy seeing if 5 minutes makes a difference on changing that answer. So, okay. Another response is an environmental cue. You guys know that I have kitty cats, and you guys know that there's a lot of different environmental cues that can come from the kitty cats. You know, the cats poop in their litter. I make sure because I respond to tasting the poop bubbles in my mouth, and I'm like, I get up and I go and clean that cat litter as soon as I start smelling it. Can't do it. So gross. Can't eat the poop bubbles in the air. No, thank you. So just because there's no person to respond to, I actually responded to a smell. And I'm sure a lot of people respond to smells, you know, baked bread, baked cookies, or whatever. Whatever you smell that is so delicious, I'm sure your body responds to a stomach gurgle here and there, you know, smelling those things. Or I'm sure you respond to just changing your direction and following that smell. Um, so what is the response? Again, a different way that we can talk about a response is, you know, maybe you're lying in bed and you've been sleeping and your eyes pop open. What did you respond to? Why did your eyes pop open? Have you responded to your body being fully rested? Have you responded to your uh, bladder being so pressurized that you need to get out of bed? What did you respond to? Did your alarm go off? What did you respond to? Did the dog across the street start barking, or did somebody in your house make something crash? What did you respond to? Why did your eyes open? What do you respond to doing next? Do you respond to rolling back over, going back to sleep? And your body actually, your bladder is full, so you respond to getting out of bed because you just can't procrastinate anymore. So when you pop off those blankets, you're like, ooh, it's a little bit chilly in here. So you then respond to grabbing a sweater and putting it on before you go to the bathroom, because we all know squatting on a toilet in a cold environment is a little bit chillier. But you know that you're actually going to be there a little bit longer, so you respond to grabbing your phone so that you can entertain yourself on the toilet. So as you can see, like a response is like a moment by moment experience. It's not like moving into the future and trying to pre-plan that whole experience. And we've been talking about using your brain to make these decisions isn't really what is we're here to do. We're here to move that moment by moment, decision by decision, uh-huh or uh-uh. And we can see that through opening your eyes. And you're like, well, how do I plan anything? How do I do anything? Well, you respond to doing it. Well, what do I mean by that? You hear that there's a concert and you're like, yeah, whoo, I want to go to that. Well, you responded to that radio ad and you're like, uh-huh. Well, you should get those tickets to that event, you know? It's an external cue. Maybe you thought about, oh, I want to go to a concert and I'm just going to go to like the first one that I hear about. It's probably not going to be a great experience for you. But if you are, you know, just going about your day and you respond to something during the run of the day, ooh, that seems frilly. That seems awesome. I respond to that. Ooh, you know, that is how we go about understanding what is correct for us. What grabs your attention? What is like that little baby sound, like, ooh, ah, like what has captured your attention for that half a second? So you're like, there's plenty of things that captures my attention. I can explain in a psychic kind of way how I feel about this particular experience myself, because I have the same response mechanism. As a psychic, there's like 1,000 different types of decks to choose from. There's 1,000 different types of way to divine or to do your psychic intuition. So, you know, there's a lot of frilly things that come my way. And, you know, I would write them down. Ooh, I want to learn that. Write it down. Ooh, I want to get that. Write it down. Ooh, so I actually make to-do lists. Many, many lists around the house. So many lists. Just because we respond to doing it does not mean that we initialize it or externalize it immediately. Let me say that again. Just because we respond to it in the now, it doesn't mean that we need to externalize it in the now. you particularly have a lot of tendency or pressure to be able to want to do everything in the now because of you being a manifesting generator. You're pressurized to do things quickly. So, you're here to respond. There's a lot of things that I find frilly and I respond to and I want to do. Ooh, let's do it. But let me tell you, I am literally staring at that book where I write most of my to-do lists. And there was this one course that I made. It was like everything psychic. And I was like, ooh, I really want to put this out. I really want to work on it. But guess what? I actually responded, no, I don't want to do it. That was actually what I thought people wanted from me. I don't want to do that. So it's actually, I removed it from my to-do list and I put it in my garbage pile because it's kind of like a do-a-tang, so you can remove pages, which is great. I can reorganize all of my ideas. It's awesome. Anywho, um, I respond to a lot of different things in life, and just because I respond to them, it doesn't mean that it's actually correct for me right now. So, over time, I realized that I responded, I don't want to do that project. But here's another project that I want to do. I want to create my own deck. And I still respond to, doing it. And I'm so happy. This has been like 5 years that I've been wanting to do my own Oracle deck. And I'm so happy that I haven't done it yet because I obviously don't have the skill, the time, the whatever is needed to be able to complete this deck in the most beneficial way for me. And I'm okay with that. It's been years and years, and I responded in a very big way that that's what I needed to do. But just because I wanted to do it doesn't have to get done 5 years ago, and that's okay. That is very okay. It's still on my to-do list. All right, let's talk about the to-do list again. The reason why I have a to-do list is because it takes all of the ideas out of my head and it externalizes them. Instead of just having all of these frilly things that I've responded to. Like, then I have an external way to respond to them. I look at my to-do list when I'm bored. I'm like, F no. Screw that. I ain't got any time for that. Nope. Oh, yeah, actually, I can do this one. So, when I find myself bored and I respond to doing something, I pull out my to-do list of the million things that I want to do and then I work on it. That's how I work through my responses of my things. Some of the things that are on my Amazon wish list are things that I've responded to watching people doing. And over time, some of the things on my Amazon wish list have been removed, but most of them have been permanently placed there. I had this externalized response of, ooh, I see that thing. I like it. And I'm just going to keep it on that Amazon wish list until I am certain that I want it, or I respond to not wanting to have it anymore. So, it's like, and I go through it by looking at my items on my Amazon wish list. There's many different ways that you can respond. It's not necessarily just somebody asking you something. The only way you don't respond is asking yourself a question from your head into yourself. It just doesn't work that way. So, a response. Let's run over it. You are here to say uh-huh and uh-uh to life. And what is it you're here to say uh-huh and uh-uh to? Things, moment by moment. People, places, things, or experiences. Moment by moment. That is what you're here to respond to. Let's talk about that again in a different way. If you say uh-huh and you follow that uh-huh, then you're allowing your purpose to flow through you. If your body says uh-uh and you follow that uh-uh, then you're allowing your purpose to flow through you. If your body says, I don't know, and you just rest on it and you don't know, you're still allowing your purpose to flow through you. Now, let's just talk about that again, but in the opposite way. Let's just say your body said, uh-huh, and you're a little bit too scared, or maybe you don't think you have the resources to proceed. So you're like, I'm not going to do it actually. Even though my body said yes, I'm not going to do it. You're actually going against your purpose. You're stepping out of line with who you truly are if you go against what your energy is saying. Now, let's just say your body said, excuse me, don't do it. Don't do it. And you decide to do it anyway. You are going against your purpose. You're stepping out of line with your purpose. Let's talk about that. Let's say that again. You are here to say and and you, when you do that and you follow that, you're allowing your purpose to flow through you. And when you do the opposite, you're stepping out of line with your purpose. So when you do the opposite of what your energy says, you are finding yourself in the not self theme. Now, I find that the not self theme is a key indicator of up leveling in life. Some people may find that, these not self themes of frustration or anger or disappointment are things that should be ignored because we're told that, namaste, love, light, and peace in this intuitive realm, and we discount these other emotions. So let's talk about it. Not self. Not self means the opposite of your choice mechanism. So if your body says or and you follow it, that's true self. If your body says or and you do the opposite, that's not self. That's it. So when you are not self or making not self decisions, you have the high chances and capabilities of becoming frustrated. Once again, I said that these are key indicators of up leveling in life. All right, let's take a side step. 70% of the world are a generator of some sort. 70% of the world. So that means that 70% of the world has a chance of being frustrated. So 70% of chat, I'm talking to you right now. I'm going to ask you, Sarah, chat, rerunners, viewers, where are you frustrated in life? What frustrates you? Who frustrates you? What experience frustrates you? All of those things that came to mind are all of those places where things have the ability to change and be more in line with who you are and your purpose. So where are you frustrated in life? Chat. These are all key indicators of where you could start working on things in life. What is your to-do list of things to do? Look at where you're frustrated in life and see what can change. Now, just because you're frustrated, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should start something or stop something. Maybe something just needs to change. So let's just give you an example of my last workplace. I was very frustrated at my work, and most people end up leaving their places where they're frustrated. But it actually wasn't me that needed to change. It was actually my boss that needed to get fired that actually changed all of that frustration. And when my boss was fired, my frustration changed into this feeling of satisfaction. So this, just because I was frustrated, it didn't mean I needed to start or stop something. Something just needed to change. So what could possibly change in those situations? I'm not telling you to quit or start something. Like I said, all of those places in your life where you're frustrated can be reviewed. And what do you do from there? Well, specifically for Sarah, she starts responding to the situation moment by moment on how things should proceed from there on out. We are going to be talking about frustration for just another moment. I just want to remind you that frustration is a key indicator that something can change or has the ability to be more in line with who you are as a person. You don't necessarily need to quit or stop something or start something. Maybe just something needs to change, and all you got to do is start responding moment by moment in order to be able to see or if what needs to change in that situation as it comes to you. All right. Girls, guys, and gemstones, we are now going to be moving on to our second portion. We're going to be moving on to our brain candy. So, what we just learned was how this person ends up saying their yes and no. Now, we're just going to give some brain candy as to who this person is on a deeper level. I want to say that we can talk about this person for 18 days, and I'm not exaggerating when I say 18 days. There's so many different ways that we can talk about a person. We can talk about their sleep habits. We can talk about their health. We can talk about how a person eats, how a person should move, how a person interacts with a person one-on-one in a group, in a very large corporation. We can talk about you in a workplace. We can talk about how the planetary alignments affect you. We can talk about just your stages in life at 29, 38, and around 50. Like, those are average ages. So those are just blankets of energies that exist that make you feel like things are changing. And it just gives you like, hey, this is what's up. So there's just many different things that we can talk about regarding a person. So you can just imagine the bare minimum details that I will be giving you right now if we could literally talk about you for 18 days. Let's look at something fun. Let's just go into this because we haven't seen this for a while. I want to say that when you are awake, you are a generator. And then when you're sleeping, you are a reflector, which means that you receive the world a whole different way when you're sleeping, or having sex, or laying down, or meditating while you're laying down. So I bet when you lay down, you feel a whole different shift in the energy when that happens. Just as something random, from this particular point of view, if I took a moment to analyze this, we'd be able to actually see where your weak point in your chart is. You're like, what? Weak point? I'm weak? No, I'm not saying that. It's just what you might find juicy in the other person. So we can find from this particular analysis what you might find juicy in the other person. What's cute is that this is what your body thinks it's doing, and this is what the brain thinks it's doing, but together, this is what it's doing. So interestingly enough, the body and the brain pretty much feel like they're doing the same thing, but together they're actually doing a whole different thing. That's going to be interesting. So, all right. Let's talk about all of these words on the side, and then we'll go into the center of the chart and talk about some of those colors inside the chart. Interestingly enough, I am also a single definition. I am also a 4-6, and I am also a right angle. Looking at this energy here, the red stuff in the center, and this little thing here in the center, this channel leading the yellow to the brown, you have a lot of individual energy. Remember, this is just brain candy stuff. You don't have to know anything about this or remember it. It's just brain candy stuff. As a person who resonates deeply with this or has this in their chart, myself, some people feel that I, like, this is externally looking in. Some people feel like it's because of my energy. I have this energy right here too. Self-centered, self-absorbed, about the self, like really just about the self. And people really try to make me feel guilty about being about the self. But that's what is required from you and from me in order to make this world go round. You have to have those blinders on in life in order to be able to focus on those things that you need to focus on. And what's also interesting, and the only thing I'm going to say about single definition is that you don't rely on the other as much as other people rely on the other. So sometimes people feel offended by that. Why don't you rely on me as much as I rely on you, you know? So don't ever, ever, ever try to make, don't ever let anybody make you feel guilty about being that individual person, about having those blinders onto the world, because that is what's needed in this world to make it go round. And you know you're a beautiful person. You know you're so generous and gracious. And what people see is, you know, this this lone wolfness, this you need to contribute to the tribeness. But it's not in your energy to contribute to the tribe. It just isn't. It's not in there. You have no tribal energy, life force energy in you. So if you don't ever feel like you have that tribal energy to contribute to the family, it's because it's not there. You're more of like, I see it here, but you may not resonate with it, but you're more of the collective. So um, you are here to be about thyself, and that is okay. Um, you don't need the other as much, and that is okay. Never let anybody make you feel guilty about that. Um, when we're talking about the single definition, and just a reminder that everybody in chat, I am talking to Sarah specifically here. I am not talking to anybody else. This is Sarah's reading at this particular moment. We're going very deep with Sarah, so this is for Sarah. So this single definition, that means that you'll feel most of the pressure inside of these centers here. So let's go over what a not self expression might feel like in these centers. Remember, not self is doing the opposite of what your energy is telling you to do. So, ooh, I'm just going to say that this is going to be a long brain candy talk here. Um, all right. Where do I even start for this one? Let's start this one. You might find yourself avoiding confrontation and truth. I have this open, so I know this very well. You know, this is where the little white lies might pop up. Oh yeah, even though you think it's a very ugly haircut, you're like, oh yeah, that's a cute haircut. Just not to rock the boat, you know. Um, I personally don't enjoy going to female-based ceremonies such as baby showers or wedding showers because they ask me questions. When are you gonna have your baby? When are you gonna get married? I just want to put up my middle finger and say it doesn't matter. Why do you keep on asking me these questions? I literally avoid women-based ceremonies because I'm tired of having those questions asked to me. I drop off my present and I run. But this could be the opposite too. This could be telling too many truths. This could be too many truths. So at my last position, we were asked, what is wrong with our workplace? And I'm like, well, I can tell you exactly what's wrong with your workplace. Bam, 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 for like 2 months straight of just complaining about internal workplace strategies. Well, I think that's why I lost my job. And this is why I'm self-employed, was because of telling too many truths. You need to look after our mental health. This is deteriorating. Like, it was just so much that I threw at them that too many truths was what I did there. So a not self is, you know, avoiding confrontation or truth or telling too many truths. You know, the wisdom is knowing what is proper to say. Um, what we have here is the mental pressure to perform, to know what's interesting, to answer questions that don't matter to you. Though that's a not self-expression here. So Sarah, you might find yourself being the person that has everybody else's work on your desk, or you might be the person that everybody else goes to find the answers, because guess what? If Sarah doesn't know the answer, she will definitely feel pressurized enough to find the answer. So that's a not self strategy. If you don't know the answer, you know what the answer is? I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm busy right now. Can you find yourself? Find it yourself? And people literally be thrown for a freaking loop because you're the person who always has the answers. So, here's an example. Where's my keys? Well, Sarah, how the heck do you know where this person's keys are? You didn't place them anywhere, but you surely are going to try to relieve the mental pressure by trying to help them find them. Um, Another one could be, for example, you're standing in a group of friends and you're on your phone because you're looking at your phone because it pertains to the conversation. You're checking your bank just to see if you have enough money to do the thing that you responded to in the group. Well, as you're on your phone, a friend of yours across in the group was like, yo, you should check that news story. You should check the weather. You should check this. You should check Facebook. You should check Instagram. And as a not self expression, you would go and do all of those things. You would check that news story. You may check the weather for your friend. But the thing is that those are none of your questions that pertain to you. They don't matter to you. Even though that friend means the whole world to you, those questions do not matter to you. And it's actually derailing you from your actual job. Your goal was to check your bank to see if you could actually go out, but now you've been derailed by 5 different questions. Everybody's gone and you still don't have the answer, and here you are still working, and you did all the work of everybody else, and here you are still working on your stuff. And you don't know the answer if you have enough money in your bank because you checked the weather, you checked the news story because you had your phone out and it was there. So here's an example of, because I have this open too, I know exactly what this feels like. My son, hey Katie, what time is it? And I'm on my computer. And you know what? I should just answer him. But I'm like, dudes, your phone's right beside you. And even though I can see the answer right in front of me, guess what? My son stopped asking me the question because all he has to do is stand up, go around the corner, and look at the stove because the stove always has the time. Always, always. So, although my son means the world to me answering the time for him is derailing whatever I'm doing. Can you please go check the time yourself? I'm busy. Now, as a streamer, this is something that we have to battle with every day because there's a ton of people coming in here asking different things and requiring different things from us. You could see earlier when I was doing my Reiki stream, someone said, do you have earbuds? Yes, I do. Can you put them in? Well, thank you for the suggestion, buds, but no thank you. I'm going to continue doing my Reiki without my earbuds in. But thanks, though. So, I wasn't going to act on his request just because he told me to. Um, Answering questions, every one of your questions matter, but I really needed to figure out a way to make sure that chat didn't derail me. So on a day like today, when I'm doing a review, I turn on, hey guys, I can't pay attention to chat because it'll derail me. I can't answer any questions because it'll derail me. So when we're talking about this particular center, it's talking about like things that are just pretty much going to derail you. Now let's talk about this particular center here. This particular center, I know exactly what this center is like. You have it wide open, so this is where like general anxiety lays, and now I'm not a doctor, so please go talk to your doctor about anxiety. So you have the possibility of experiencing the full variety of what it is to experience the center because there's absolutely no energy attached to it. There's no little red, no little black, and it's not defined. There's no problem with that. You actually have three centers completely wide open, which is actually quite rare, just saying. So you have the possibility of experiencing this fully. I'm wondering if sometimes your brain is completely empty, and then sometimes you can't stop your brain from chattering so much. That's literally where it comes from, is that I don't think that you'd be able to control it because it just depends on the day. It's one day is going to be quiet, one day is just going to be so busy that you can't stop it. Um, so the different types of not self expressions that we can find here is trying to prove that we know. Um, Now, this isn't really like sometimes people say that I'm trying to call them a know it all. That's not what I'm talking about, no. Um, when we're talking about this center, it's about the rigidity. I have this open, like I said, so I wouldn't repeat myself because I didn't want to be humiliated. So I wouldn't repeat myself. Another rigidity that I would find in the center is that I would not speak until I knew I was correct. And it wasn't because I wanted to be a know it all. It's just because when I was younger, I would speak and I wouldn't have fact. And I vowed to myself that I would never speak unless I have fact again so I wouldn't make a fool of myself. So, yeah, I vowed to only speak when I have fact. Now, that created a strategy where, oh, when Katie opens her mouth, all she says is fact, so she has to be smart. No, guys, no. I only know what I know, and that's the wisdom of this center. I only know what I know, and that's okay. You don't need to know anymore. And if anybody ever tries to pressure you to know anymore, that's their problem. So here's an example of what a rigidity in this center is. We have our moderator, Kitsune Ember, and she gave me the perfect example of what it is to be in this center rigid. Her husband is such a teddy bear. He's so kind, so he's not a dick. But what I'm saying is that when she was talking one day, she said the word onion. In French, the word onion has a G in it, onion. So the word onion, she said onion. And he literally was like, whoa, 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 stop. I'm going to take out a whiteboard. I'm going to write the word onion on a screen. And I'm going to continue derailing your conversation just to prove to you that I know what the word onion is spelled like. Now, he was doing it because he didn't want her to look like an idiot when she spoke. But to her, she was so offended because he derailed her conversation and let's learn how to say the word onion, even though she knows how to say the word onion. And she knew that ever since she was a kid. And, it's just a whole fucking mess. What does it even matter? You know, it's not a spelling bee. It's not like a contest. We're not here to prove each other, ourselves to each other. It's just, but for him, it was, hi, wife, I just want to teach you how to say the word properly, and that's it. And I run into that very often with Matey. He's like, you're all over the place with your streams. And I'm like, I don't care. It is what it is. So, let's talk about this one here. This is, if you're in your not self, you're going to be holding on to things that are no longer serving you, no longer healthy for you. So people, places, or things that are bad for you. So people, places, or things that are bad for you, you're going to be holding on to them a little bit longer than the typical person possibly. Or you could do the opposite. You're just going to throw away everything that's good for you. So, oh, I don't need the support system. Screw that. Oh, I don't need this thing. I'm stronger than that now. I don't need it anymore. So you could find yourself on both sides of the fence there, getting rid of things that are healthy for you or holding on to things that are no longer healthy for you. And I was going to go deeper, but that's okay. So you can experience the full variety of expressions in the center. This is actually where all the fears lay, here and here. So you're actually going to experience different fears in life in its full expression. The fear of tomorrow, the fear of responsibility, the fear of the past, just different things like that. So these are just different lessons that you're going to learn in life, just like here too. Um, But yeah, so how do you know when the proper thing to act on mentally or let go of things physically or hold on to them? You just need to respond, it's still good for me. They're bad for me. So and are going to move you through what's no longer healthy for you. And I purposely saved this little guy for the end because he is a big one. Even though it's the tiniest one on the screen, you have this wide open. Now, 70% of the world have it open. I don't know how many have it wide open, but as you can see, you don't have any energy hooked up to this white little center. I'm going to talk about that in a variety of ways. A, this is the center where people feel like they have something to prove if they're in their not self. I need to prove myself. I have to go harder, better, faster, stronger. I need to prove myself that I can hold on to that shitty thing. I need to prove that I can let go of that thing that's healthy. I need to prove that I know. I need to prove that I can answer my colleagues' questions. Maybe, I just want to let you know that you have nothing to prove, not even to yourself. So if you ever say, I need to prove to myself that I got it, no. You don't even have to prove anything to yourself, love. Nothing. Now, there's different feelings that come out of this center when you're in your not self. So if you're running around trying to prove yourself to people, different feelings, or remember the not self expression, or if you're not listening to your own energy, this means that you're off course in your true trajectory. You might have feelings of, I'm not enough, I'm not deserving, and I'm not loved. And that's where that comes from. It's just a chemistry. It's not fact. You are deserving. You are loved. You are deserving. It's just because you've made a few decisions that made those things pop up as not self expressions. You have nothing to prove. How do you get away from feeling some types of those feelings? Start saying and Now, this is the heart center. This is the willpower center. This is the commitment center. And you're like, dude, I have no energy there. It's really important that when you decide to commit to things that you use your and because your will tell you if you have the energy to commit to something or not. It's very important because otherwise this might just be all willy-nilly and all over the place. And you may have been trying to prove to yourself your whole life that you have some type of sense of commitment or, consistent access to commitment. But you know what? I bet that when you say the words, I will, that you do. I will do that. I bet you do. But remember, the only commitments that are proper for you are the ones that you respond or to. What do you need to commit to? Respond to it. What do you need to not commit to? Respond to it. If you by chance are in someone's aura and you get super excited and you find yourself committed when you didn't want to be, what do you respond to doing next? Do you respond to telling that person that you don't want to be committed anymore? Or do you respond to not listening to your energy and possibly ending up frustrated, away from yourself, away from your path? So what are you going to do the next time that you can commit to something or not? Or your energy will tell you. Now let's just say that your energy said, you don't have the life force energy to do it, but you feel like you have to, you need to, you gotta, so you do it anyway. I'm gonna ask you, do you find yourself frustrated in those commitments where your energy said otherwise, like you should do it, but you didn't, or you did it when you shouldn't have done it? Do you find yourself frustrated when you do the opposition of what your energy says? That's just something to learn or to notice in the future. So yeah, this is a heavy hitter. I have something to prove. But remember, you have nothing to prove at all. I have to prove that I can hold on to shitty things. I have to prove that I can let go of things that are healthy for me. People, places, or things. Support systems. I have to prove that I know the truth. I have to prove that I'm not going to rock the boat. I have to prove that okay, here's an example. There's an extra shift at work. They didn't even ask you to take it. It's most likely that you might be the person who takes it. Why? because you're going to feel mentally pressurized to do it, and you're going to have to maybe prove that you know, or you're going to prove that you can be the health and safety person, and you don't want to rock the boat with anybody else because, it's Christmas Eve and everybody else has kids, and I guess I'll be the one who takes it because I don't want to rock the boat. Even though I've never had Christmas off myself, I don't want to rock the boat because everybody else has kids and they are the ones who might need the time off instead of me. Screw that. Screw that. If a person has a job where they got to work Christmas and there's rotations on that, they knew that getting into the job. Screw it. Rotations exist for a reason. Rules exist for a reason. Okay. So I told you that we would be spending a lot of time on feeling the different pressures inside the center. So those are all your not self. Who are you? You know fixed adrenaline and timing. It's important for you to move. I'm not necessarily go work out. I'm just saying dance a little, do a little bit of chores. I don't know, just not sitting on your butthole the whole day. I'm sure you feel that moving changes your mood. You know when enough's enough, and you have a very fixed sense of self identity and direction in life, and you know how to externalize all of that. You have a fixed way of externalizing all of that. So that is who you are. Um, what I am wondering is there's a lot of different things for me to say over here, so I'm just going to continue to run down this experience over here. What is a 4-6? Okay, let's talk about the profile and carnation cross at the same time. Girls, guys, and gemstones. When we talk about this, you may not resonate with it. Why? Because maybe you're so many decisions away from your true self that you may not resonate with these particular aspects of your reading. We don't go over them, but I do tell you about them. Listen, I didn't even resonate with my profile or my incarnation cross until recently, and I've been studying this for years. And I've been trying to decondition away from, what society expects from me for even longer than that. So it takes time. So a person may not even resonate with this profile or this incarnation cross for a while, and that's okay. But I just want to tell you that it exists. And this is what the goal is to be that 4-6 and to be the right angle cross of vessel of love. That is you. You're moving away from the conditioned version of you into this. This is who you are. What is a profile? A profile is a person who we see them on the stage of life. So if you're an actor on the stage of life, this is how we're going to see you. You are a 4-6. So what does that even mean? That's how society sees you, and that's how you see yourself. Let's just say that you're a person who just happens to be 5 foot tall. Let me change that. Let's just say that you're a person who is 6'4", because I want to exaggerate this experience. You're a person who's 6'4", but the costume maker, the props maker, decided to make your costume for a person who's 4'9". So as a person who's over 6 foot, it's going to be very difficult to get in that person's costume who was 4'9". It might explode. It's going to be super uncomfortable. It's going to rip. It's going to be awful. And they expect you to fit into that. That's what society's expectations on you. That props maker making your costume too small. I felt ugly. I felt gross. I didn't love myself. And that's all where I feel like this comes from, was I was in the wrong costume most of my life. And then one day I just randomly was like, whoa, I actually love myself. So anywho, what is a 4-6? A 4-6 is a person who is about opportunities, about their network, about externalizing the things that they are a role model of. You are a role model of what? Of the things that you've responded to. So as a 4-6, I'm a 4-6, so I understand this completely. People get a million chances with you. But as soon as someone burns you, they're out of your network and forever. Don't ever talk to me again. So, you know, it's very important that, you have your network. You probably have a few close allies, and then you have a bunch of people on the outskirts. Um, and that's how it's supposed to be. People are supposed to come into your life, and people are supposed to go out of your life. And that, once again, is something that people find offensive, is that you can just let people come in and out of your life so easily. Remember, this is me too. So people are offended by that. It's like, how I thought I meant something to you, you know, that kind of idea. But you're about the network and you're about opportunities. And if there's no opportunity there, and it may sound selfish, but it's not, if there's no opportunity there for you, then, why have that person in your network? Um, so I told you that we weren't going to talk about the incarnation cross because it's its own reading itself. It's like a 2 hour reading. So we're going to pop ourselves over into this chart again. One of the cute things that I noticed about your chart is that you have the channel of, oh, what's the name of that channel? Yeah, mutation. I was going to say maturation. That's a completely different thing. You have the channel of mutation. What does that even mean? You have a lot of firsts happening wherever you are, Sarah. When you're there, firsts happen. And that's no surprise to you. So when people are like, "Oh my god, this exciting new mutative thing just appeared," and you're like, "So?" It's because you're used to it. You have this unique mutative energy that just mutates things when you're around. You change things, you bring new. Um, so that's pretty fun and cute to know about. Um, that is a part of who you are. Um, you like to finish projects, not necessarily start them. Um, oh, I lie. You like to start projects just to have the experience. I lie. But you also like to finish them too. But you like to start having experiences. But you also have the energy to be able to finish experiences. And a lot of people don't have the energy to finish experiences. But what I need to tell you, Sarah, is that you shouldn't be having more than one experience at a time. Otherwise, all of your experiences will be watered down. So you need to make sure that you're having one experience at a time so that your experiences aren't watered down. You have the ability to be still like a mountain, to concentrate. And I bet a lot of people know that about you. Maybe you have a lot of study buddies. Maybe you had people always near you when they studied, or maybe they asked you to come by so that they can study and concentrate and focus. But that is you. You also have the design of being in the flow. What's interesting is that I find with people like you, and I was told I was wrong with this, but I think this is right, so this could be wrong. Um, I find that with people like you could be walking down the road, and literally people start stepping in tune with you walking down the road because they get caught in your flow. People just start looking at you walking down the road. Um, you just have this sense of, let me get out my cheat sheet at this point because I like the names that my cheat sheet gives me. We have, you have this direction of self. You are about the behavior of self. So I bet people just fall in line when you're around, and also you're a person about being in the now. You are also a creative role model. You have this innocence about you, and you are also determined. So this is a lot about what's in here. So once again, you're the creative role model, and you are the wanderer, and you are the preponderance of small, which means that you are all about um, stimulation, and that's not right. Yeah, stimulation and details. So maybe you like to stimulate people with details, and you might want to get people into their flow by focusing on what can be changed or what's new. Help people be in their creative self and their creative role model. Because remember, this is like going to imprint people when you're around them too. So I know that this one, I feel like I learned somewhere that this one is like maybe people just might feel physically bad around you. That may be wrong or right. Don't take that to heart. One of the things, though, is that I noticed that you have a ton of energy going up this power column. And the only thing I'm going to say about that is that matters. And in a group, I bet you feel like people really need you in a group, or you just feel like you settle so well into a group just based on what you have here. One of the things that I notice is maybe you have that mom energy of when my mom is in one room, she's like, oh my God, I need to escape all the kids. I'm going to go from the living room and go to the kitchen. But the thing is that when she moves, she takes the flow with her. So everybody, if she moves from the front room to the kitchen, everybody's just going to follow her anyway, one person at a time. Everybody's just going to end up in the kitchen anyway. So you have that flow about you. People are going to like follow you around. So just say that you're in a house of three people. I noticed that I hate it. It's so unfortunate for Matey. But when Matey leaves the room, there's only two different places he can be going. It's either the bathroom or the bedroom. Like I instantly notice that I need to follow him through the kitchen, and I start doing errands in the kitchen, which isn't really fun to him because our bathroom walls are paper thin. So if he wants privacy, it's like I followed his flow out into the kitchen, you know? But yeah, let's talk about two more things and then we'll get done. We're going to talk about 70% of what you put out into the world. You are the wallflower. I don't even know what that means. And you have ignorance. Okay, these words aren't necessarily bad. Let's talk about them. The wallflower, modesty as a shield against exposure of inadequacy. So this is you. This is your energy. Now, you may not resonate with this fully at this particular moment because I didn't resonate with mine literally until this year. A genuine form that may or may not mask inadequacies, the uncomfortableness of the self when it is out of the flow. So you just feel uncomfortable when you are out of the flow. So let's talk about this other one. Ignorance, false innocence betrayed by actions, the least mild of a negative position, where inappropriate action is censored. The loss of innocence through inappropriate action. So it's just talking about the loss of innocence through inappropriate action. Does that make you giggle, or does that like hit the feels right at the deepest levels? So yes, that is 70% of your shining light out into the world. Um, where is the 15 located? The 15 is located here. So that flow that I was talking about, people must really feel your flow in the world. The gate of extremes. My fiance has the gate of extremes, you know, where he can just put his hand in his pile of chaos and pull out something because it's like organized chaos. Yeah. 25. Where's 25? 25 is here in a sense. So the 70% of what you're putting out into the world is your identity, your direction, and your love in life. And maybe some people might be jealous of that because there's some people who feel like they have no direction, identity, or love in life, and they try to, smash themselves with name brands and try to, give themselves an identity, because they feel like they don't have it. Or who am I today? I don't know who I am today. So you really project out this self, this identity, love, and direction in life that, this fixedness that you know about. All right, that is your review. The most important thing to know about this whole experience is to say your uh-huh and uh-uh and allow that to flow through you so you can allow your purpose to flow through you. That's the most important part of this whole experience.